Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Amy Holmwood, and I'm honored to be introducing you to a very dear friend of mine. Her name is Naomi Damask, and I'm going to give you a little bio on her because she's so amazing. I'm actually going to read this so I don't miss anything. She's been a breast cancer survivor and has an incredible background. She's from outside of Minneapolis on Lake Minnetonka, and she does have an extensive corporate marketing background and has had several businesses. And after having demanding corporate jobs, she had to make a change in her life because of her illness. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she had 3 different businesses in children's clothing, pet products, high-end boutiques, and with TV stations and channels around the United States. And then she had to make a change in her life to kind of de-stress her life. And so now she has a much greater calling with the information that we're sharing with you guys today. She has several foundations that she's formed, as well as the ladies that are going to be speaking. So we're so honored to hear from Naomi Damask today. Naomi, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Amy. I'm really excited to be on this call with so many fabulous women. And so I just want to thank everyone for taking some time out of your day to talk with me about such an important topic. And I think it's a topic that all of us need to know about more. And since it is October and it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I thought it was a perfect time for us to actually have a conversation. And I like to say that it's Breast Cancer Educational Month, because I think we are all aware that it's actually happening around us. But I think we need to be arming ourselves with some of the most powerful information. And so I've asked a couple doctors as well as another survivor like myself, Donna Deegan, to hop on this call. And Amy, just because I know you're a wealth of knowledge in this arena as well, just to speak today and share with our audience what you have learned over the time. So I'm going to bring on our first guest. I'm thrilled to be having her. Her name is Dr. Sveta Silverman. She is from Canada. She's actually a breast cancer pathologist. And Dr. Silverman, I'll actually let you share a little bit more about yourself. And then if you wouldn't mind speaking today in regards to sharing a little bit about nutrigenomics and also the BRCA gene. I think that's really important because we hear that all the time in the breast cancer world. And I think you just have a great wealth of knowledge that you can share with our audience about genes and gene expressions and the importance of nutrigenomics around that.
Thank you very much, Naomi, and being blessed to be in such a company of not only amazing physician, Rebecca Glasser, amazing, but also thank you, Naomi, and indeed Donna Deegan and Amy Holmwood. So here's the deal, guys. Yes, I do practice breast pathology, board certified Canadian pathologist specializing in mostly seeing breast cancer in my practice. So obviously very, very interested in science behind, and most of all, I am interested how to prevent breast cancer. So nutrigenomics, I believe, is critically, I just came back actually from 8th World Targeting Mitochondria Congress. And I had a presentation on estrogen-induced breast cancer and mitochondrial dysfunction and the therapeutic targeting. So nutrigenomics is critically important. It's critically important both ways. Nutrigenomics can be in a good way and can be in a bad way. We can apply bad nutrition to our genes. However, we can apply good nutrition to our gene as well. Why is it so critically important? So we have approximately 20,000 genes in our genome, and only 2% of those genes are coded, meaning basically nothing we can do about them. 98% of our genes are for grubs, meaning that we actually can manipulate them. So it's your choice whether to manipulate them in the right way, aka keep them very, very healthy and not dysregulated, but only upregulated in the right way, or to keep them in a bad way and basically keep them in a mutated way. I choose the proper nutrigenomics. Now, breast cancer is divided in 2 categories. One, it is heritable breast cancer or BRCA cancers, whether it's BRCA1 or BRCA2 cancers, BRCA. Or it is environmental or what is called epigenetic cancer. there is approximately 10%, maybe less, of genetic cancers or BRCA cancers, and overwhelming majority of cancers are environmental or estrogen-induced, estrogen-related breast cancers. Now, let's deal with BRCA. Why, even being as a sort of a heritable mutation, we absolutely need to have a nutrigenomics on board, whether it's a healthy food, nutrient-dense foods, or whether it's a cellular upregulation of our genes via supplements, herbs and roots, and so on and so forth. Well, for the breast cancer, heritable breast cancer, we have two genes. We have basically two similar genes on just different chromosomes. We have paired chromosomes, right? We have 46 pairs. We have 46 chromosomes. So, and all of them 23 pairs. So one pair of the chromosome has a mutated gene for the breast cancer. So it is critically important to keep the similar gene on the other paired chromosome to stay healthy, because that's when nutrigenomics plays such a critical role. If the nutrigenomics is applied right, this gene is not downregulated. It acts exactly the way it's supposed to act. And the function of BRCA gene is called tumor suppressor gene, meaning that it suppresses the tumors. So when it loses the ability to suppress the tumors, that's when breast cancer or ovarian cancer occur. So if we apply nutrigenomics to that, so to speak, normal gene and keep it healthy and normal, so that part which carries that normal tumor suppressor gene is going to be operating kind of like, it's going to be revved up twice. And it will not allow the other one to synchronize and create cancer. So that's why it is so important, especially important maybe in BRCA, to stay healthy, as healthy as we can get. So that's in a nutshell.
And Dr. Silverman, can you just touch on a little bit more about what are some ways to stay healthy with that? If there's something that you recommend, especially since, this is what you do every single day, what are some of your recommendations? It would be great to hear.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Naomi. So I actually teach 5 pillars of health. And those 5 pillars of health include, number 1, healthy mind, healthy and happy mind. Number 2, it has to be nutrient-dense foods. I don't preach veganism, but the majority of our plate has to be plant-based. It has to be fruits and vegetables, beautiful plant-based oils, nuts and seeds, great fats. Number 3 is going to be great, healthy water. If you can find a live mountain spring water, will be amazing. Number 4 is going to be exercise. And number 5 is going to be proper supplementation. And I take supplementation very, very serious. I call it mandatory supplementation, something that you cannot find from food. If I can eat vitamin C, why would I supplement with vitamin C? I eat my vitamin C from citrus fruits, for example. I eat my vitamin E and A from nut seeds and plant-based oils. But I cannot get vitamin D in Alberta now. The sun is there, but it's an illusion. It doesn't give me vitamin D. I have to take vitamin D. So from that perspective, if I can open my mouth, I absolutely propagate Protandim, both NRF2 and NRF1, because that is a mandatory upregulation of my cells via nutraceuticals, via nutrigenomics.
That is absolutely wonderful. And I think that's so important to hear. And I love that you talked about the 5 pillars of health, because I think that is something as a survivor myself, I'm not always hearing those from my doctor. And I think it's so important that people have the right supplementation, that we're putting those into our body. So Thank you so much. I know that you are jet lagged, so I really appreciate you hopping on this call and sharing your wisdom.
I'm on LifeVantage products. My jet lag is very minimal.
Well, you know what? It does definitely help. That's for sure. So thank you so much. Our next featured guest today is Donna Deegan. And Donna Deegan, actually, I don't think you even realize this, Donna, but you actually touched my heart when I heard your story. My best friend called when she was looking at this information and educating me about it. And she said, you have to hear this woman's story. It's remarkable. Donna Deegan is actually a cancer survivor like myself, but she is triple negative and she's had it 3 times. So when I heard this, I was like, my ears definitely perked up because I wanted to know what she knew, what she was doing, and why she was doing it. So Donna, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your story and your journey, I would love, love, love our audience to hear what you've been doing. And I know you're so passionate about helping others.
Well, thank you so much. First of all, I was fired up to hear Sveta talk about those 5 pillars because I just think all of that is so very important, starting with the mind. And I just love to hear doctors speak that way, especially doctors who are involved with breast cancer patients. So yay to her. And I hope she continues to preach that to everybody that she sees. How wonderful. I have to say that, I spent 28 years of my career as a journalist, as a news anchor. And back in 1999 was the very first time that I was ever diagnosed with breast cancer. And as you said, the first of 3 times. Had a very small tumor. You know how you have when you're type A, okay, well, I'll put this as an appointment on my calendar. I'm just going to check it off. I'll have the surgery. I'll go to my chemo, I'll be done. Right. And then less than 2 years later, it came right back. Now I will tell you that that was really the first time that it occurred to me that this could be an issue. Because I really the first time just thought, okay, who dies from breast cancer anymore? I mean, these are the types of things that go through your head when you're just completely type A, right? I'm gonna kick it and then I'm gonna be done. And I think the second time it really got my attention, I started to communicate with other women who were going through the same thing because I'd already gone through the whole thing, the loss of hair, the chemo, all that on the air. And I talked to my news director and he said, why don't you just start a journal so that people can connect with you? So I started an online journal, which we would now call a blog. And that's really where the Donna Foundation came from. So I started a foundation. I kept hearing from women who were trying to choose between putting food on the table for their kids and having their medicines or having their surgery. And I thought, how ridiculous is that? And I thought maybe I could use the megaphone that was attached to my mouth to do something about it. And so we started the Donna Foundation. We've helped over 10,000 families with their critical needs while they're going through treatment. I'm a runner, so I loved hearing the exercise part as well. So we started a marathon. There was no marathon for breast cancer. And now we have more than 10,000 people, 12,000 people that come here every year to run to raise money for women with breast cancer and also for research into genes, which has been, the whole thing is just, the fact that all of this has come together, it's just been so wonderful. But all this time I'm still in my job and we go through this terrible economy and I am just completely and totally stressed out. I'm working at least 12-hour days. I never see my kids. I have no time for my foundation. One thing I didn't touch on was that years after my first diagnosis, I actually saw the ABC primetime when it aired live in 2005 and started buying Protandim when it was available at the GNC. And then it left the market. Yeah, how about that? It left the market. And so by the time I was diagnosed the 3rd time, this was 5 years cancer-free after the 2nd time, was going in for my all clear. I'm all ready to this campaign for less blood tests and, get me out of this clinic so much. Yep. And I'm diagnosed the 3rd time in my left lung. And man, that really got my attention. And I said, I told my husband, I said, I just cannot spend one day of my life looking over my shoulder. I said, whatever's going to happen to me is going to happen, but I'm going to do everything I can to change my mind to be in a more positive place. I'm not going to be fearful. I've got to get out of this crazy, stressful job. I loved what I did, but at the same time, it was just absolutely stress-filled every single day. And so I really set a course to change my life. And started to really pray about something that would take me out of the news business. And lo and behold, I get a call from a friend who was in the nutrition space and called me and said, hey, I'm bringing a new company to Jacksonville, and I'd love for you to take a look at it. And it was LifeVantage. And he was blown away to hear exactly what I just told you. Hey, I already know all about this. I love it. I brought it to my doctors. Fortunately, they were open-minded and gave me the thumbs up. And my life has never been the same. I have the opportunity now. A year later, less than a year, I was retired from what I was doing, was able to do LifeVantage full time. And what's great about that is, oh, hang on. Can y'all still see me? Sorry, I'm back.
You're fine. We got
Okay. What's great about that is that, honestly, I get the opportunity to help people through my foundation, which is just one of the great loves of my life, share great health with women. And like Sveta said, it really comes down to choices that you make in your life. You can get rid of that stress and do something else that is still helpful to people, that still carries the most positive message, and that inside your body is doing something miraculous. And I honestly believe that's what we're doing. So for me, to be able to be involved with a company like LifeVantage and to share Protandim and all the peer-reviewed research and everything else that we have, and to know that with every pill that I put in my body that I'm making my body healthier, it's a wonderful combination. So I would encourage anybody out there who is in a stressful job or who feels like, gosh, I really want to change my life and I really want to change my health. Look, I ate healthy, I exercised. The two things I had to add were the Nutrigenomics and the mind. And I would encourage everybody out there, if you do those things, you can live a pretty magical life. Because as you know, and all of us on this call know, all we have is right now. That's what we have. And if we can do everything we can do and every single day when we get up to help somebody else and help ourselves, I don't know if we can do much better than that. So I'm grateful to be here with this great group of people. Thank you for letting me be part of this.
Oh, I love your story. And I think you just, touch my heart as being a survivor. And I know the struggle it is and the cost. And I tell people all the time, like, dig that well before you need it. Because the whole thing is, my husband and I, our job, our life was going well. We lived in the city of Chicago. The week before I was diagnosed, actually, he accepted a new job to move us from Chicago to Atlanta. And I tell people our lives changed in an instant, because even though it was a great career move, he took a pay cut, and he was like, well, Naomi, it's not going to matter because the cost of living in Atlanta is so much less than Chicago. We won't have all these taxes and private schools and everything else. Well, then the next week, my doctors were like, you're not moving anywhere. You're going through treatment. And so I was like, and then I stopped working my job. Even though I was my own boss, I couldn't produce because it was so stressful. And that's what you're saying about the stress.
And we put so much stress on ourselves, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's the other thing too. Women, we're always trying to keep all the plates spinning, right, for everybody else, and we take care of ourselves the last.
We do.
And I think that's another thing that women have to acknowledge. We have to be kinder to ourselves, and we have to start doing the right things for ourselves.
Oh.
And you know what? And you know what? When we do that, that makes life better for the people around us that we love.
You are amen, sister, to that, because that was the hardest thing for me to learn, because I've always put myself last, and I was always the yes woman. I would get everything done. I mean, I was involved in junior league. I ran big galas. I did everything else, but not anything for myself. And so that's why I think it's so important. And I think the mind, I know you've spoke about it now. Dr. Silverman has spoke about that. I think that is such a key thing, because I think that is, I watch so many of my friends around us, unfortunately, that have done all the right things, but there was a missing element. And I really do feel as though it's the mind. It's so powerful. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey. And I'm actually, I will say, I used to run marathons all the time, and I hung up those shoes many years ago, but I have said your marathon is the only one that I will do. And I've had a couple girlfriends that live down in Jacksonville, Florida. So hopefully I will be either doing a relay or doing it all myself one of these days.
Well, we have a half also. So just come down and be with us. You would love to be around all the positive energy. It's fantastic.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Donna. I really appreciate your time. And our next guest is actually Dr. Rebecca Glasser out of Colorado. And I've asked Dr. Glasser to hop on today because she's actually a breast cancer plastic surgeon. And I don't know if Donna, if you had done reconstruction, but I did reconstruction myself. I've actually had it done twice now. Unfortunately, I tell people, I get a lot of times people be like, oh, you're so lucky you got a free boob job out of this. And I'm like, not the way I wanted to get a boob job. But I am so grateful to be able to be surrounded with now all these powerful women, especially Dr. Glasser, with your profession and having your knowledge and just the impact that you have on your patients. So I would love for you to just share a little bit more about maybe oxidative stress and why we need to know about that and what role it plays in our body.
Very good. Well, thank you for that nice introduction, Naomi. I do appreciate it. Donna and I are quite connected, as we were together in Jacksonville, and I was part of the Donna Foundation and involved with the 26.2 with Donna, which is just such a wonderful marathon. And, I've heard her story so many times, and she talks about being a 3-time breast cancer survivor and how the fact that she went through surgery and she went through chemo and she went through radiation, and she thinks about what she put her body through. And so one of the things I want to talk about is oxidative stress. And I know it seems like a daunting word, but if you just break it down and you think about the word oxidation just literally means to rust. And so it's our bodies rusting from the inside out. And so it's just like if you took an apple and you cut that apple in half, that apple would brown. Or if you took a piece of metal and you left that metal outside, that metal would rust. Well, the same thing happens to our bodies as we age. And whether you go through breast cancer treatment and get all those toxins in your body for treatment, or whether you're doing good things for your body. So you can be out here in Colorado and you can go hiking or running or biking, or just sitting here breathing causes an increase in oxidative stress. In the medical world, this is an important thing, because when we start looking at the NIH, or the National Institute of Health, and if we just typed in oxidative stress into the toolbar, we would see that there's more than 180,000 studies on oxidative stress and how it is related to every disease and every cancer. And so one of the first studies that was done on Protandim Nerf2 essentially said, if I give you Protandim for 30 days and I measure your oxidative stress or your rusting, what we would see is that it would drop it by 40% in 30 days in 100% of humans. Wow. And so whether you are going through cancer, or whether you are just aging, or whether you are the healthiest person in the world, think about oxidative stress and how it's related to all of these different things, because we're all aging, we're all diseasing, we're all cancering. None of these processes happen overnight. Most breast cancers are slow growing. They may happen over 2 to 5 years. So think about if we could possibly pull back on the reins of each of those processes by 40% in 30 days. That's a wonderful thing. And the way it does this is what Dr. Silverman talked about. It's nutrigenomics. It's how we use nutrition to change the expression of our genes. And so I think of it like a giant dimmer switch, okay? And so let's say we're gonna just turn up those good genes and turn down those bad genes. That's a wonderful thing. That's never been done before. And when you're looking at medicine, whether it's breast cancer or anything else, we're looking more and more at genetics for how it's responsible for breast cancer, how it's responsible for heart disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, all of these different factors. Now, certainly we can't say that we cure, mitigate, or treat disease, okay? That's not what I'm saying. But what is so important to understand is do your research. Understand the importance of oxidative stress. Understand the importance of NRF2 activation. If you think of NRF2, again, it's a daunting word, but NRF2 is essentially a little protein messenger, and it's running around your cell, and it's looking for insult or injury within the cell. Mm-hmm. And when it finds it, it just rings that alarm bell and says, hey guys, we have a big fire out here. We have a cancer. We have a disease process going on. and it runs back to the cellular nucleus or the command center of the cell, and it turns on all of these survival genes. And I think everybody tonight would agree that survival genes are a good thing to have. I mean, by the name alone, this sounds pretty good. So if we can turn up our survival genes, whether it's antioxidant enzymes, which help reduce oxidative stress, or anti-inflammatory enzymes, which reduce inflammation, or any of those other genes which are part of these disease processes, it's a key thing. I think one of the other things we all touched on tonight was, I think breast cancer survivors are looking for answers. And so they go through their surgery and their radiation and their chemo, and they're still coming to me and they're saying, okay, what can I do now? I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about my daughters. I'm worried about my future. What can I do from a prevention standpoint? I don't want to just stop. I want to do more. And so I think that nutrigenomics is really a good answer to this, because when I think of disease processes, I think of them like a giant iceberg, okay? And so at the very top, you can see the iceberg above the water. You can see the cancer. You can see the heart disease. But what's going on below the surface is all of those things building over time, all of that oxidative stress building over time. So let's work on the prevention side. Let's do things to prevent disease or cancer from happening in the future, not just for yourself, but for your family and for everybody you love. And so that's my tips of the day. I'm obviously a huge breast cancer advocate. Keep that positive attitude. Approach it by all angles. Use nutrition, use supplements, use a positive attitude, use exercise. I think all of those things are a wonderful thing. So thank you, Naomi, for having me today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Glasser. I really appreciated that. I think it's so important for us to hear from people that we respect. As I know a survivor myself, I want to trust my doctors, and I've actually seen 4 oncologists over my 6-year span because of moving from Chicago to Minneapolis. And I think it's always just great to hear the doctors that are really into the research. And so I just applaud you that you're sharing this information with your patients, because I think it's so important to be able to hear that. And then, a lot of times I tell people that a lot of doctors don't know a lot about nutrition. I was blessed that my one oncologist here before she retired, she was a wealth of knowledge, and I was on a drug called tamoxifen. And actually she pulled me because of the side effects being so horrific. And, I'm mentoring these women right now that are dealing with all these drug side effects. And unfortunately, as much as they are doing good, they're also doing harm to some people, because everyone's body is different. So I always tell people, my body is different than your body. My breast cancer was different. And so I think by having options out there and just having people like you that are so knowledgeable, and same with my oncologist, she knew what the NRF2 pathway was because she was a big researcher. So she was like, I am confident I'm not putting you on another estrogen blocker drug because of all the nutrients that I was doing, all the different natural things I was doing. And I just think, it goes back to the mindset too. So thank you so much for sharing. I really, really appreciate that. And I did not realize that you actually used to live in Florida. So I bet you and Donna had a lot of fun together when you guys worked together. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I'm now going to turn it back over to Amy Holmwood. I've asked Amy to actually speak today because I really respect Amy and her knowledge around biohacking our genes. And I know that Amy is not a breast cancer survivor or a doctor, but she actually works with a lot of people in the medical field and just of her own health journey. And I love the fact that I know her mom was actually one that started a co-op back in California way before it was the cool thing to do. She had a juice bar there. And so Amy's just growing up with that mindset of healthy living. So Amy, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit more about biohacking and anything else that you would like to talk about that you've actually seen with other medical doctors that you're working with.
Thank you, Naomi. And thank you, ladies. This is an incredible call, and I'm honored to be on with you guys. And it's just great to get to know the community better that we are building and growing and sharing with all of you today. So my story is actually I've had Lyme disease for over 20 years, and I was so blessed when a friend of mine shared Nutrigenomics story with me and how to reduce oxidative stress, because I'd been biohacking my body. Naomi, you know about this. I used to take 30 to 40 supplements a day.
Mm-hmm.
I was very into nutrition, meditation, transcendental meditation I was doing. My father had had cancer and died. Actually, I'm 56 years old. He died when he was my age. So this has really been on my radar, to be able to just work at the natural level through nutrigenomics and really through food. And that was really with Lyme. There was really all you could do because there's no cure for it. And they just basically, doctors give you antibiotics, and you have to really be a self advocate. And I really encourage everyone watching this that, I didn't know everything. When I heard about this, I was totally blown away by it, because everything I was doing was trying to hack, really that biohacking, hacking my own DNA through supplementation, which can only go so far. And we don't have enough time to get into all the science of this. And I just want to be really clear, you guys, today, that this is not intended to treat, cure, heal, mitigate, or diagnose any disease. All the information we're giving to you guys is public information. We do have an amazing product called Protandim. When I started using Protandim, Naomi, I went off of all my other supplements, and I just used Protandim because I really wanted to just clean my body and detox my body. I used to have to take blood tests every month. I was going to the doctor monthly because I was so toxic from all the vitamin supplementation. So when I used this, it really took the load off my body. But what happened for me was I had much more clarity in my brain. And I was able to really see for the first time in years that actually the situation I was in my life wasn't working for me anymore. I was working like a dog in the insurance industry. I'd been in that industry for 25 years. And this opened my eyes to a whole new community of people and a new way of working, which is through networks of friends and family and just sharing this incredible information with the world, and working with a publicly traded company, because I'm a financial advisor. I've had my Series 7 license since 1986, looking at companies, also investing in companies, and looking at LifeVantage as really an early company. And we still are in this genetic space. Donna was talking about what's going on in genetics, and that it's all coming together for her, because when she started this nutrigenomics journey with Protandim, the breast cancer world wasn't maybe even talking so much about genetics, but this is the next $1 trillion industry. And so from a business perspective, I put my business hat on and said, oh my gosh, this is going to be absolutely huge. I want to be able to share this with my friends and family, but I also want that different lifestyle that working from home can offer to people. Working from cars, you saw a lot of people in their cars. You see doctors on here. There's a lot of really smart people in this company that see there's a new way to live, and it's called setting a firm foundation for your life and for your family, from your health, your mind, which is the community and the spirit that we have of coming together. So this feeds our brain as well and our hearts, but also the financial security that you can create in a business like this that's so early in the sector of nutrigenomics. We're the beginning of this. We are the ones out there, LifeVantage. There's no competition yet in this. We have 23 peer-reviewed published studies that are just continuing to add to our credibility. So I'm so excited about this, Naomi, and thank you so much for asking me to work with you on this today. And I'd love to just turn it back over to you to wrap it up. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. I just really appreciate that. I do want you to speak just 2 more seconds in regards to, since you were seeing so many doctors yourselves, why do you think that, like, I get this question a lot, like, if this has been so great, why have my doctors not told me about this? Can you
That's such a great question.
Touch on that real quick?
Absolutely. It's interesting because, you use the analogy of my mother with the juice bar in the food co-op in Northern California, in 1972. Well, you didn't see a lot of juice bars coming around, until probably about maybe 8 to 10 years ago. Okay, 1972 is, 40 years ago or so. So basically, it takes time for information like this to penetrate out of academia. And so people haven't been using probiotics for more than a few years, but I was using probiotics when I was a child. I was a severe asthmatic. My mother had me on probiotics because I was taking so many antibiotics. They've been around for 50, 60 years. But why is it now that people are just using probiotics? Nerve-2 activation is going to be just like that. We just aren't at that place yet. Information transfers person to person, and through the science of this, it's gotten quite bogged down, really, in the hallowed halls of Cambridge University. So this is not something that everyone's heard about yet. So take that as an opportunity. Just like if you look back in time and you wanted to invest in, no one would not invest in Facebook if given the opportunity over again, or in Google, or Oracle, or some of these other companies. So LifeVantage is a company like that. And I absolutely, with 100% confidence, believe that we are at the forefront of this next $1 trillion industry and being able to dominate it. And that is in the wellness and genetics, nutrigenomics, biohacking sector. Biohacking the aging code. That's what we're doing.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much, Amy. I really appreciate that. And actually, thank you to everyone. I just have had a blast sharing this information. And I think it's, you know, something that we're all very passionate about. And I just feel lucky to be surrounded with so many people that know so much. I know for my own personal journey, I always tell people, thank goodness this came into my life, because it's served in so many different ways. It's been like a package. And I tell people when I give them this gift, you know, it might serve a gift of financial freedom for them. It might serve the gift of community that some people are looking for, or it might serve the gift of wellness. And for me, it's all of the above. And I'm so blessed to be surrounded with such amazing ladies. And so I just thank you guys once again for your time. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we'll be sharing this recording on all of our websites. Thank you so much. Have a great day.